You're listening to Evita, an AI-generated research briefing avatar trained on the research framework and methodology of Dr. Eva Wolf, marketing professor, AI researcher, and founder of Big Plans Media. Every day, Evita scans emerging research in AI, marketing, consumer behavior, psychographics, and business strategy to identify the most relevant developments, opportunities, and risks worth watching. These daily radar reports are designed to help busy professionals stay informed without having to read hundreds of research papers themselves. And every Friday, join Dr. Eva Wolf live for her personally recorded weekly AI Marketing Radar Roundup, where she breaks down the biggest stories, explains what actually matters, and shares practical insights and strategic implications for marketers, educators, entrepreneurs, and business leaders. Now, here's today's Radar Report. Here's the signal I can't ignore today. Your brand might be drifting. Your AI vendor might be lying. And if you're launching anything in Arab markets, you might be messaging the wrong emotional register entirely. 3 separate problems, 1 pattern. Today's research points straight at it. We screened 353 papers. 3 cleared the full text bar and made the radar. Quick caveat. This is a first pass research briefing, not a final academic review. Every paper today has full text access. I'll tell you what the papers suggest, what they don't prove, and which ones deserve a deeper read. Okay, let's get into it. Paper 1. Here's the business question. If you're launching an AI product in Arab markets, do you actually know how your audience feels about it? And are you measuring the right thing? Here's what the researchers did. They took 2 English language psychometric scales measuring attitudes toward large language models, translated them into Arabic, and ran a validation study with 249 Arabic-speaking adults. They wanted to know, do the scales work reliably, and do they work equally for men and women? The scales held up, reliable across genders. But here's the finding that actually matters for marketers. Arab consumers' attitudes toward LLMs split into 2 completely separate dimensions: acceptance, seeing LLMs as useful and beneficial, and fear, job displacement, risk, negative consequences. Those 2 feelings exist at the same time, in the same person, and they do not cancel each other out. Around 80% of respondents expressed positive views of AI products, and roughly 1 in 4 Saudi respondents in cited surveys feared losing their job to AI. Both things, simultaneously. That's not contradiction. That's your audience. Here's where this becomes a commercial problem. If your campaign only leads with benefits, speed, convenience, smarter results, you're speaking to the acceptance dimension and completely ignoring the fear. You're not wrong, you're just incomplete. And incomplete messaging loses trust. That's the part I keep coming back to. It's not that Arab consumers are skeptical of AI. It's that they're enthusiastic and afraid. That's a very different brief than overcome objections. But here's the catch. The sample is 249 people, and the paper doesn't fully specify which Arab countries are represented. The Arab world is not one block. Don't treat it like one. Plain English payoff. Your AI marketing campaign in Arab markets needs 2 messages, not 1. Lead with the benefit, address the fear, or you're leaving half the room cold. Okay, here's where this becomes commercially interesting. Money move. Build a quarterly AI acceptance index for Arab markets. Use these validated Arabic scales as the measurement backbone. Sell it to regional CMOs who are flying blind right now on consumer AI sentiment. Action step. Before your next AI product launch in any GCC or Arab market, run a simple pre-campaign attitude survey. Segment your audience by acceptance dominant versus fear dominant. Then brief your creative team on 2 separate emotional registers, not one. Evidence check, the reliability scores. Cronbach's alpha between 0.67 and 0.75 meet the acceptable threshold, but they're not strong. These are preliminary benchmarks. Treat them as a starting point, not a definitive measurement system. Radar verdict, test this week. Peer-reviewed, clean methodology, and the finding about simultaneous acceptance and fear is directly actionable for campaign strategy in Arab markets right now. This next one looks like a plumbing problem, but I promise you, the business implication is bigger than it sounds. Paper 2. Here's the business question. Are you actually getting the AI model you're paying for? The researchers built an auditing framework called Gatescope and used it to probe 10 commercial LLM API gateways. Those are the third-party aggregators that sit between you and the actual AI models from OpenAI, Anthropic, Google. They measured the same way any paying customer would. No privileged access, pure black box auditing. What they found should make every marketing technologist uncomfortable. Some gateways quietly swapped out the model you requested for a cheaper, less capable one. No notification. You pay for GPT-4, you get something weaker. Some gateways silently cut off your conversation history mid-chat. So your customer service bot or sales assistant just forgot the first half of the conversation. Again, no warning. And billing? Some gateways charged for tokens that were never actually processed. Others applied pricing rules that didn't match their own published rates. That is not a vendor quality issue. That is money leaving your account for AI you didn't receive. Think about what this means in practice. Your content tool, your chatbot, your personalization engine, if any of those run through a third-party gateway, you may have been running on a cheaper model for months and attributing the performance gap to your prompts or your strategy or your creative, when actually the problem was the pipe. Okay, here's the catch. This study audits 10 gateways. We don't know which ones. And we don't know if the discrepancies were intentional or just sloppy engineering. The paper flags inconsistencies. It does not confirm fraud. Important distinction. But even if it's all just sloppy engineering, it's your budget and your campaign performance on the line. Plain English payoff. If you use a third-party LLM gateway, you might be paying for a premium AI model and running on a budget one, and your performance data has been reflecting that gap the whole time. Okay, here's the business hiding inside the research. Money move. Offer a gateway health check audit as a paid consulting deliverable. Probe a client's current LLM provider against official model endpoints. Document the gaps, produce a compliance report. It's a concrete, defensible deliverable that no one is currently offering at scale. Action step. Pick one AI-powered tool your team uses through any gateway aggregator. Ask it a question that only a premium model would answer correctly. Then compare the response to the same question run directly through the official API. If the answers diverge, you have your answer. Evidence check. 10 gateways is a real sample, but not exhaustive. The auditing is all external observation. The researchers can't see inside the gateway to confirm exactly what's happening or why. This is a 2026 Snappermership. Gateway policies change. Radar verdict. Test this week. Accepted at ACM IMC 2026. That's a rigorous venue. The findings are checkable today with nothing more than an API key and 15 minutes. Stay with me here, because this last paper is the one where the evidence is thinner. But the problem it's describing is one almost every content team I know is already living with. Paper 3. Here's the business question. When your whole content team is using AI to write faster, how do you make sure it still sounds like you 6 months from now? So the researcher here, Kanishev, did a theoretical review, synthesized 40 scholarly works, and built a 5-level model for governing brand voice when you're using LLMs at scale. No experiment, no consumer survey, conceptual framework. I want to be upfront about that before we go any further. Here's the core argument. When brands use AI to produce content fast, they hit a 3-way tension: personalized, or consistent, or authentic. Pick 2, maybe. Getting all 3 at once is hard. And without governance, your content doesn't suddenly become bad. It gradually becomes generic. Post by post, draft by draft. Nobody notices until it's already happened. The proposed solution is a 5-level hierarchy, a fixed voice core that never changes, your non-negotiables, an adaptive layer that adjusts tone by context, prompt and template management, human editorial review, and an ethics layer, including disclosure rules for AI-generated content. Here's what I keep coming back to. The framework hasn't been tested. 0 empirical data. 1 scholar. Low credibility venue. I'm telling you, this is a thinking aid, not a finding. But the problem it describes? Completely real. And most teams have no system at all right now. A structured framework you can adapt, even an untested one, is still more useful than a vague style guide PDF that nobody reads before pasting into ChatGPT. The catch, and it's a big one, there's no measurement guidance. The model doesn't tell you how to know if it's working. That's on you to figure out. Plain English payoff. AI content drift is real, it's gradual, and the fix isn't more creative talent. It's treating brand voice like a policy document, not a vibe. Okay, here's the monetizable angle. Money move. Build a productized brand voice governance package. 1-day workshop. Deliver a voice core document, an adaptive tone guide, a prompt library, and an editorial checklist. Ready-made for the brands now generating AI content at volume with no guardrails. Action step. Pull your last 30 pieces of AI-assisted content and read them back to back. If they could have been written by anyone in your category, congratulations, you have drift. That's your baseline. Write down 10 brand voice rules in prompt-ready format and start injecting them today. Evidence check. Purely conceptual. No empirical testing, no validated outcomes. Published in a low credibility journal. Use this framework as a starting point for internal conversation, not as proof that any of this works. Radar verdict. Watch list. The problem is real and urgent. The evidence for this specific solution is not. Revisit if the model gets empirically validated. Okay, let me pull back and tell you what I actually think these 3 papers are saying together. At first glance, these papers look separate. One's about consumer psychology in Arab markets, one's about API infrastructure, one's about brand governance. But together, they show a single pattern. AI is creating invisible gaps between what you think you're doing and what's actually happening. You think you understand your Arab audience, but you might be running one message where 2 are needed. You think you're paying for premium AI, but you might be running on a cheaper substitute. You think your brand sounds like you, but you might be 3 months into a drift you haven't measured yet. Not visibility problems, infrastructure problems, not strategy gaps, assumption gaps. Here's the tension that sits underneath all 3 of these papers. We've adopted AI fast. We built the workflows. We got the tools running, but we haven't built the verification layer. We don't check whether the AI model we're using is the one we think it is. We don't check whether our content still sounds like us. We don't check whether our audience is holding fear and enthusiasm at the same time, and we're only speaking to one half. Not more AI, better auditing. That's the piece most teams are missing right now. Here's the playbook from today. 1. If you're marketing AI products in Arab markets, segment your audience by acceptance versus fear before you brief the creative team. The validated Arabic scales from today's paper give you the measurement tool to do it properly. 2. If you use any third-party LLM gateway, run a 5-minute model verification test today. Same prompt, official API, gateway API, side by side. If the outputs diverge meaningfully, dig into your invoices. 3. Pull your last month of AI-generated content and read it as a stranger. If it sounds like everyone else in your category, you have brand voice drift. Write 10 prompt-ready voice rules and start using them today. Evidence check on all of that? The Arab market study is peer-reviewed but small, 249 people. The Gateway paper is technically rigorous and accepted at a serious conference, but covers only 10 gateways. The brand voice framework is purely theoretical, no empirical backing. Use today's papers to decide what to test, not what to blindly believe. Links to all 3 papers are in the show notes. Read the originals before making major decisions. Want the human expert take? Join Dr. Eva Wolf every Friday for the AI Marketing Radar Roundup, where she extracts no-nonsense money-making tips, practical strategy, and real business opportunities from the week's research. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. This is Evita for Big Plans Media, and I'll be back in the next Radar Brief.